Sir, I rise to support the demand for grants relating to the Ministry of Labour being headed by a dynamic leader and young minister. In a vast country like ours, where we have a very large population, labor force is a very important ingredient for the development of our nation. This particular human resource has not been utilized to the extent possible. This is indeed regrettable. We should look upon population not only as a liability but in the given circumstances our population or the manpower should be utilized to the best possible extent by giving suitable training. I think the Labor Department and the laborers deserve a great deal of respect because whatever we do in this country, the whole process of national reconstruction revolves around the work of the laborers. In our country, fortunately, the labor force is not well organized. Only a very small percentage of the labor force, about 10%, is in the organized sector, whereas about 90% of the laborers are in the unorganized sector. For the welfare of a large number of people, various laws are being made. We have been talking about labor legislation for a long time. A lot of legislations have already been made, but we have to consider seriously whether all the legislations have helped the labor class. I am sorry to say that a lot of these laws are just accumulating dust and they have not been really useful in many circumstances. Unless the law is practiced in the proper spirit, the works will not be benefited. This particular aspect has to be taken into account while making the legislation. Now there has to be a great deal of political will and enthusiasm to see that the labor laws are really implemented and benefit the people. Our dynamic and young minister has recently said in a meeting in Pune that in this session a new legislation is going to be presented. It may not be completed in this session, but certainly it is going to be introduced and it is for the benefit of the organized sector. A new comprehensive and integrated legislation is going to be introduced by our government for the sake of guaranteeing minimum wages and for providing pension for people in the unorganized sector. The condition of the laborers is indeed very bad in our country. Look at any factory or any other big public undertakings. How much care does the employer take for the benefit of the laborers on whose integrity and hard work the whole enterprise of that particular industry is flourishing? You will find that a very few industrialists really look into the different welfare aspects of the laborers. Take the example of families and children of the laborers. Do their employees make proper arrangement for their health, care, and education? Leave aside their cultural upliftment or their cultural life. The families of the laborers are not looked after properly and a great deal needs to be done, and in this regard voluntary organizations can play some role. A small amount has been provided for the welfare of children and women in the unorganized sector. I would urge upon the Honorable Minister that the allocations to the voluntary organizations for the betterment of women and children in the organized as well as unorganized sectors should be increased. Sir, as regard the lockouts, where there is a lockout of the industry, the laborers have a great deal of suffering. They do not know what to do. They are just left to their lot. But the employer does not suffer to such. Just look at the employers of different big industries. The standard of living does not change after locking the industry, but the people in the factories are left on the street. I suggest that whenever the question of lockout in a particular industry comes up, the question should be considered whether the laborers will be able to run a particular industry, and a lot of consideration should be given to this particular aspect, and if possible, that particular industry should be kept alive. Sir, migration is a very important problem of laborers, and it has got multi dimensions, that is laborers within the country and those who are going outside the country. Lot of laborers are exported outside the country and they are facing lot of problems because of the agencies. I would like to mention here one thing, that we have entrusted this work to many of the private agencies, but there is need to consider whether we can have a manpower corporation and assign this work to the corporation. Also, there are problems of interstate migration of the laborers. There is an act, but it is causing difficulties to the laborers who migrate to other states. The value of education lies not just in getting a degree or training for a job. The real value is in giving back to society and in helping those less privileged and less fortunate than us. It is with this sentiment that Guru Nanak College has extended a special facility in partnership with an NGO that runs a school for special children, that is, children with special needs. I am told that certificate courses are offered to such students to help them find employment and to promote mainstreaming. I wish such efforts all success. Your college also strives to inculcate service to society and make students socially responsible. Following the December 2015 floods in Chennai, I have learned that a team from Guru Nanak College was one of the first to reach people in distress and provide food, water, medicines, and other essentials. The University of Madras has both benefited from and contributed to a tradition of scholarship that is central to Tamil Nadu's identity. Even ordinary families in the state emphasize the value of education. This has had a direct impact on social development in decades and on the economy. Tamil Nadu has a proud culture of research and innovation, whether in the pure sciences or in medicine and of engineering and manufacturing. It has a well-regarded IT sector and a growing digital economy. These are complemented by excellence in the humanities. It is no surprise that the Tamil language is among the most ancient in the world. Centuries before many others, it was exploring the literature and philosophy of learning. The ability to pursue education as an end in itself, as well as to help fill gaps in day-to-day lives of our fellow citizens, is commendable. In this context, the people of Tamil Nadu and institutions such as the University of Madras are a model for our country. Inevitably, it is to institutions such as these that we turn for direction and leadership at the beginning of the 21st century. This is an exciting chapter for India. We are looking to become a developed society and to urgently eliminating poverty as well as ensuring healthcare, education, housing and energy access for all our people. Simultaneously, our country is seeking to meet the opportunities as well as the challenges of the fourth industrial revolution of robotics, genomics and artificial intelligence. Universities such as this one are expected to be our navigators on this journey. Institutions in Tamil Nadu have come before, and this is the pathway for the youth of our country. The convocation and this university are a moment of renewal for both the University of Madras and for those graduating today. For the university, the 160th anniversary is a point at which to reflect as to where you wish to be in 40 years when you commemorate your bicentenary. This university needs to aspire to the next level, to benchmark itself against the best in the world and to continue to remain competitive for top students as well as top faculty. The Government of India has announced a program to promote excellence in higher education by building capacities of 20 institutions of eminence. I am told that the University of Madras has prepared an ambitious and detailed plan in this regard, and I wish you all the best. Please also build networks of your impressive and globally dispersed alumni and involve them in actionable proposals to upgrade the university, its systems, and its scholarship. The attribute has helped it stay contemporary and relevant to emerging needs of students and of society. The range of courses and subjects offered here symbolizes this and spans the traditional liberal arts to 21st century disciplines. History and economics are taught here, and so are anthropology and religious studies. And today, this university has room for, among others, bioinformatics, nanoscience, etc. And to the students who are graduating today, I am only say that you are entering a world teeming with opportunities. You have been fortunate to have experienced education in a university of such standing. Not everybody has this privilege. As you leave this campus, carry your learning with humility. In some manner or in any manner you choose, give back to society and to those who are less well off. Let that be the true test of your education. I am happy to be with the cream of our cinema industry for the 65th National Film Awards ceremony. I must begin by congratulating each of the 125 award winners as well as the countless artists who have worked on the films that are being recognized today. This is a special moment for all of you and India.